Hello and welcome back to another lesson on learning Wagtail. In this video, we are going to talk about some more headless CMS stuff. And actually what we're going to do is we're going to take a look at serializing a rich text stream field, or a rich text block technically is what it's called. Now, as an example, I have a page here. Actually, that's not going to work. I need to start my server first. Now, as an example, I can go to pages. I have a home page, I have a blog, and I have two blog article pages here. So if I edit this one article page, I've already pre-populated this with some data. And so down here, if I go down to the bottom, I have some content. I have these blocks, these stream blocks that I can add. Title and text, full rich text, simple rich text, staff cards, and call to action. Now the problem is with a rich text field, Wagtail actually doesn't store this data as simple HTML. It's actually a little bit different. So if we open up our API, we can actually see this stored somewhat differently. What page was this? I am editing page number 5, so I'm just going to go straight to the detail page of page number 5. And the content down here is, if we take a look at this, it's a paragraph, hello rich text world. The second paragraph has a link, a ID of 4, link type is equal to a page. So it's got some weirdness in there. And I also added an image, this little image right there, just a simple gradient. And here it is. So this is our image. It's an embed element with an alternative text of gradient.png. Embed type is an image. The format is full width, and the ID is 1. In regular HTML, that actually makes no sense. That's not an image tag. That's not even close to an image tag. But when Wagtail goes to parse this in its template, it'll look for every embed element, and it'll say, oh, this embed element has an ID of 1. And its embed type is an image. So look up image number 1 and format it full width. So it does all that behind the scenes, but in our serializer, we don't really have access to that. Now, before we get started with this, you are going to want your Wagtail V2 API enabled. If you don't have it enabled, I have a video on that to show you exactly how to enable it so that you can see all the greatness that the Wagtail V2 API can give you. You're going to need that before moving forward though, so make sure you have that enabled. Don't forget, you can subscribe and click the notification icon down below on YouTube to make sure that you always get updates whenever I release a new Learn Wagtail video. So in my code, I'm going to open up blog models.py, and I have a detail page in here. And this detail page has content and our full text block in here. And that simply matches our stream field in here, or our stream block rather, called full rich text. Full rich text. So let's jump on over there. And to create a serialized sort of output for this is actually super simple. Okay, so when it comes to creating a more customized API representation of your code, and this is not going to show up in your Django templates, this is going to show up in your API representation, we have a simple method. So in the previous videos, we've been using this method called toRepresentation. And then it took self and then whatever the value was. Now this one's actually not too different really. So this one's going to be called something different, but it sort of works the exact same way. And this one's going to be called get API representation. Thank you VS Code for autofilling that for me. And it takes self value and context by default is going to be none. Now we're not going to do anything with that context. You can safely ignore that for the time being, but let's go ahead and return literally anything I want. And what this is going to do is take this rich text code. Remember that broken HTML that we saw with like an embed element that Wagtail sort of parses and magically unravels in the template? We're going to overwrite all that HTML with literally anything I want. So let's go back to our API, and when I refresh, it says literally anything I want. Now that's cool, because to get our value, all we have to do is return the value. But the problem with returning our value is that it's no longer serializable, at least not in this instance. So let's go ahead and take a look at this. Let's see what is being passed in here and what exactly we can work with. So I have a program called pudb. It's a Python interactive debugger. It's a lot like pdb, which comes with Python, but it's a little more visual. So I'm just going to save that. And all I'm doing is import pdb, or pudb rather, pu.db, and that's going to open up a debugger for me. Now, if you don't already have this, I love this tool, And you can get it by simply doing pip install pudb. You don't need to add it to your Django installed apps or anything like that. It's just install pudb and then add this line. So now I'm going to refresh this page, and when I open up my terminal, you'll see this is probably going to load forever. But when I open up my terminal, I have pudb in here. We've got context, and in this context, we've got the request, we've got the view, we've got a router, and we've got our base query set, which is pretty cool. And in self, we have our rich text block. And it comes with a bunch of other stuff in there. We're not going to go through all of that. And then the value itself is the rich text. And we can actually see that it wasn't serializable because it's not called value. Behind the scenes, it's called value.source. So we're getting that right here, the .source. And you can see that it has our broken, or not really broken, but our custom Wagtail HTML in there. So we need to serialize that. So to get out of that, I just pressed Q, and I'm going to delete that, resave, wait for the server to kickstart. There we go, restart. And again, we're going to see that this is not going to work. But if we did return value.source, which is what we saw in pudb, we can refresh the page and it's going to work for us. And there we have it. We have our regular rich text. Now, effectively, we have done nothing. We've just gotten back to the exact start of this video. We haven't done anything. We need to parse this. Now, if you're familiar with rich text in the template, let's go ahead and look at this rich text block.html. And that was a terrible example. Let's look for somewhere in here. Here it is. Okay, this is a good one. Is this a better one? Yeah, this is a shorter one. So we have some text in this particular stream field, and it's using this rich text filter. And we know by using it on the templates that it automatically parses everything we need for us. It does all the magic for us. So all we need to do is use this particular filter in Python rather than in our HTML or our template. So let's close that down. Close that down. And all we have to do is use that rich text function. Now we don't have that rich text function imported. We're going to need to import that. Luckily, that import is really easy. And what I'm going to do is I'll just import it right here, and then I'll move it to the top of the page so you can sort of see it all in one view. So I'm going to do from wagtail.core.template_tags.wagtailcore _ tags import rich text. Now, if at any point in time you're like, oh, wow, Caleb, where the heck did you get that? What I did to find that the very first time I actually did this, that was this one, right? Yeah. So I have this rich text tag, and I know that every template tag is a function in Django. So what I did was a global search through my project or through the Wagtail source code for def rich text. And this is not going to find it in here because I don't actually have the source code in here, or possibly because VS Code is being a little too, no, not git keep, git ignore, venv, where are you? Let's go ahead and comment that out. And that complaint is fine. And there we go. Okay, so my VS Code anyways was smart enough to say, oh, this is git ignore, don't do any searches in there. So I just commented that out and I could see the code in here. So this is where it is in our Wagtail source code. And so simply I just did from wagtail.core.template_tags.wagtail_tags import this function. That's literally all I had to do. It was just a little bit hard to find that at first, but that's all I had to do for that. I'm going to undo that because I don't need that being committed to my repo. And so from Wagtail core template tags, Wagtail core tags, import rich text. And then I wrapped the value source, that odd HTML that we saw. I wrapped rich text around that. And if I go back here, we're going to see that this actually works perfectly. It does the exact thing that it does on your template. So it gives you a div class with rich text, regular paragraph in here. That link is now href is equal to blog. And let's go look at that image. That image was over here. And that image used to be called embed. It is now an image tag with an alt, with a class, with a height, with a custom source, and a width. Now you can use CSS to overwrite any of that if you wanted to. You could use Beautiful Soup to go in there and grab that image tag and do anything else you want to with it. The world is literally your oyster. But at this point in time, our rich text block is officially being encoded into proper HTML. So it's going from whatever Wagtail saves it as to actual HTML that your browser can use. Now, as a quick little recap, literally all we had to do was add a function in here, or a method rather, called getAPIRepresentation. It pass in self value. You can play around with the context if you need any sort of extra context in there, like the page request. And we said, hey, use that rich text filter, but use it in a Python way instead of a template way, and pass in the value.source. And that is all we had to do. Don't forget, the source code is going to be available in the commit link down below. If you're interested in learning more about Headless Wagtail, head on over to learnwagtail.com, type in Headless in the search bar, and you're going to find all sorts of videos in here. Last but not least, my name is Caleb Tolleen. I have been the voice behind the video. You can subscribe to the channel if you like, or if you want, you can come follow me on Twitter as well at Caleb Tolleen. Thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you in the next video.